Hello, everyone. Thank you all for finding time and welcome to join Korchina TNC's webinar. I'm Joey, Chartered Company Secretary. Today, here's another presenter, Irene, Company Secretary Senior Managers. Before we start, there is our Q&A sessions at the end of presentations. If you have any question, please feel free to drop a message here and we will answer your question during Q&A session. Also, you may click the About Now chat web button and we will contact you shortly for further consultation. Thank you very much. First of all, I'm going to present about TCSP and company type in Hong Kong. Irene will focus sharing company management and statutory provision. TCSP license. Under the Anti-Money Laundering and Counter-Terrorism Financing Ordinance in Hong Kong, a person except qualified legal professional and accounting professional is required to obtain and maintain the trust or company service provider license to offer trust or company service business in Hong Kong. The company registries authorities to administrate the legislations related to CCSP. Company service business means the business of the provisions in Hong Kong by a person of one or more of the following service to another persons, forming corporations or other legal persons, acting or arranging for another person to act as a director or secretary for a corporation, as a partner or a partnership, in a similar positions in relations to other legal persons, providing a registered office, business address, correspondent or administrative address for a corporation, a partnership, or any other legal persons or legal arrangement, acting or arranging for another person to act as a trustee or an express trust or similar legal arrangement, as a nominee shareholder for a person other than a corporation whose securities are listed on the recognized stock market. If you were a client, you should check whether your company service provider is either a valid licensee of TCSP or a qualified legal or accounting professions in Hong Kong. You can visit the office or company registry's website regarding registries for trust or company service provider for validations of TCSP license. On the slide, displaying that qualified TCSP must show along with licensee number, company name both in English and Chinese, and address. If you unfortunately appoint company service provider without licensee, they may mislead corporate duties and missing due diligence procedure. TCSP licensees are required to take all reasonable measures to ensure that the anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing requirement under the AMLO. To fulfill these requirements, TCSP licensees are required to implement proper procedures in customer due diligence, customer monitoring, customer risk assessment, record keeping, and reporting of special transactions. TCSP licensees are the point of contact of the law enforcement units in Hong Kong for the investigations regarding the AML or CTF. The register may take disciplinary actions against a TCSP licensee if the licensee contravenes a requirement for AMLO. Besides, licensees are required to cooperate with the CR and allow CR staff to enter their business permits to conduct inspections for the purpose of ascertaining whether they have complied with AMLO, including the inspections and making copies for records or documents, and making inquiries about any record or document relating to the business carried on, or any transactions carried out by the TCSP licensee. A TCSP licensees who fails to give CR staff access to answer any questions regarding or produce such record or document commits an offense and is liable to fine and imprisonment. If a licensee which its corporations contravenes any customer due diligence and record keeping requirement, and either the contraventions were caused or allowed by the directors of the corporations, or the director failed to take reasonable steps to prevent the contravention, the register may take disciplinary actions against the director. Type of Hong Kong companies. The most common kind of Hong Kong business entities are limited companies, partnership, and sole proprietorship. The company that a person can open in Hong Kong, including a Hong Kong limited liability company. Sole proprietorship. This type of business entity is small scale and a low risk business one, which is why the sole proprietorships are straightforward to set up. It is small scale business for one man only. Advantage is simple to set up, profits entitlement, and lower profit tax rate. However, the demerits are source of finance, heavy workload, and unlimited personal liability. Partnership. The business structures permits about two or more people to share the ownership of a single Hong Kong limited company, enabling them to share the responsibility and even increase the ability to raise funds leased by the business. Merits are divisions of labor, sharing business week, and lower profit tax rate. Demerits are no separate legal existence and bound by the decisions of others. Private Company Limited. Being the most popular type of Hong Kong company, a limited liability company can be easily incorporated in Hong Kong by just registering the business with the company registries under the company audience. Almost of the small to medium-sized company in Hong Kong are established as private company limited by share. Due to its many benefits, this type of Hong Kong company is chosen the most under Hong Kong company audience. Liability of the shareholders of company limited by shares. It is simple to set up remotely, no matter foreigners is not physically in Hong Kong. There are tailor-made and ready-made company. For the tailor-made company can through e-registrations online submission, which generally can be incorporated in one day, and traditional way paper submission for company formation. Legal entity, it is separate legal entity for its members. Members' liability of this company is limited to amount of subscribed shares. The roles of director, shareholder, and company secretary as the directors for taking up management of the company, as shareholders for holding ownership of the company, via company secretary for handling government statutory compliance. The limited by guarantee type of Hong Kong Limited Liability Company has no share capital, unable to afford the payments of dividends or to distribute profits to its member, either a provisions article associations or past resolution. Liability filing annual return with all the financial statement. Those established with those share capital as the following purpose: relief operative, advancements of education or training, advancement of religions, environmental protection, church and foundation, and a betterment for the community. Public limited company offer its shares and debentures to the public. More than 15 shareholders and on maximum restriction. No restrict right to transfer its shares. Advantage: easier to raise funds and good prospectus. If it's gold listing, more gymnastic strategies for raising capital on the stock market. Demerits: increased rules and regulations oversight and higher levels of transparency required. It is mandatory to disclose account information every year. Now, I would like to invite Irene to present company management and statutory provision.
Thank you, Joey, and hello everyone. This is Irene. As the following, I would like to introduce the general statutory requirement. In Hong Kong, the majority of companies are registered as company limited by shares. A Hong Kong company is required to take care of the reporting and filing requirement for the company every year under the Company Ordinance and Inland Revenue Ordinance. Today, we will introduce to you the key fact about annual renewal for this private limited company by shares. According to Company Ordinance, every Hong Kong limited company has to file the annual return regularly every year. The annual return is used to call NAR1 form, and this is a report to notice the CR of update information and company structure. Whether the company structure has changed or not during the years, this is required to file the annual return with the latest company structure within 42 days from the anniversary date. For any late filing, there will be a government penalty imposed on the company. If the company is dormant and has been delivered the notice with registrar, the company will be exempt to file annual return with company registry. For change of the company particulars, should be reported in the simplified form according to the relevant provision of the company audience. For any change in particular information of director and company secretary, including address, passport number, or name, and etc., the company need to submit the notification, which is a simplified form, notice of change in particulars of company secretary and director, to the CR within 15 days of the change. Moreover, the notice of change of registered office address is required to deliver for registration within 15 days to report the change in the registered office address. Also, every officer of a company, including its director, company secretary, or manager, has the responsibility to ensure that the company has complies with all the provision of the company audience. For the business registration certificate, business operator may select for issue the certificate that are valid for 1 year or 3 years. Regarding renewal of business registration certificate, the business registration renewal demand note will be sent to the business address of the company before 1 month of the current BR certificate expire. The demand note will display the business address, business name, day of payment, and the valid period. The company should settle the payment with IRD within 13 days from the anniversary date in order to obtain the updated certificate. Also, the company should inform IRD of any change of the particulars, such as change of the business address, change of the nature of business, commencement of business, and etc. The business registration fee amount may be adjusted by the Hong Kong government in the different financial years, and it should be renewed on time to avoid any penalty. For the tax reporting, the company should get its first PTR within 18 months after the date of incorporation date, and each subsequent PTR for the company will cover 12 months and should be filed annually. For the corporation, the profit tax rate for the first 2 million Hong Kong dollars of profit earned is 8.25%. The profit above 2 million Hong Kong dollar earned by a company will be subject to the tax rate of 16.5%. For the first PTR, the company is required to arrange filing within 3 months from the issuing date. For the subsequent filing, will be depends on the year-end date. For the accounting year-end period between 1st of April to 30th November, the filing deadline will be 2 of May of the following years. If the accounting year-end date between 1st December to 31st of December, the filing deadline will be 15 August of the coming years. If the accounting year-end date between 1st of January to 31st of March, the filing deadline will be 15 November of the same year. So therefore, the filing date of PTR of each company will be different. On the same time, the PTR should be submitted with the supporting documents such as certified audit report and tax competition. For the employer return, the company has an obligation to file the ER to IRD for all its staff, employees annually, no matter the employee is working in Hong Kong or outside Hong Kong. The employer should report all employees' personal particulars, the salary information in the relevant years of assessment. For the newly set up company, employer will receive the employer return between 3 to 6 months after filing the first audited financial statement. In general, employer return will deliver to the company by IRD on first working day of April every year. and the company should report the return within 1 month from the issuing date. For the employer application, the employer has to maintain the payroll record of the employee and keep this record for at least 7 years. Keep the update employee's personal particular and inform the IRD when any change of particular or the terms of employment. Also, the employer tax application commences when you hire the first employee. And the following, I would like to talk about the statutory provision regarding the SCR. On 1st of March 2018, the company registry has commenced amendment audience and introduced the new requirement on the keeping of significant controller registered by company. This is to enhance the transparency of corporate beneficiary ownership in order to fulfill Hong Kong international application and require a company incorporate in Hong Kong to obtain and maintain up-to-date beneficiary ownership information by way of keeping a significant controller register. And then we call the short term is SCR. Under the new requirement for SCR, the company incorporated in Hong Kong is required to identify a person who has significant control over the company and to maintain the significant controller, the register to be accessible by law enforcement officer. Also, the major application of the company including identifying significant controllers, allowing impression by law enforcement officer, giving a notice to significant controllers and others, updating information in the register and entering particulars in the register. For the SCR, you may have a question: who is significant controllers of the company? A significant controller including a registrable person who is the neutral person and a registrable legal entity which is a shareholder of the company that has significant control over the company. A person has significant control over a company if one or more of the following conditions are met, and generally it will depend on the person shareholding or whether have the right to exercise or significant influence or control over the company. Here, you can see that the 5 nature of significant controllers. To maintain the proper information of the SCR, the company must keep its SCR in English or Chinese. Also, the information of required particulars, day of becoming a significant controller, and the nature of control over the company for every significant controller of the company. And the registrable person, correspondent address, an ID card number or the passport number, and issuing country, or the registrable legal entity, the legal form, registrable number, and place of incorporation and register address. To update the register if any change of particulars. Also, the name and contact detail of at least one designated representative to provide assistance relating to the company SCR to a law enforcement officer. So that's the end of our today's presentation. Thank you for your time, and we are Korchina TNC. Hope to see you on next webinar.
Bye bye.